You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Here. It's the Inclusive AF podcast. My name's Jackye Clayton, and I'm the lovely.
Katee Van Horn. Woo, woo. Your hair looks very nice today, Jackye. It's as if you're like do you know that Prel? Like you're a Prel model. You remember, like she took her hair out of the ponytail and shook it out, and it was like perfect. That's what you got going on. You're a Prel model.
I got the hair. It's brand new hair because of the wedding that I went to this past weekend.
Very
And
nice.
it's funny how many people love the hair and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I've been trying to cover my gray, but you're just owning it." I'm like, actually, I'm not even this gray.
No.
Like, I'm just
Right.
trying to be stylish and trendy.
You are. I want to be you when I grow up, Jackye. One day. Although we're the exact same age, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But
We're
whatever.
not the exact same age.
Almost.
Katee, I'm 53. I'm so much older than you.
Jackye, I'm 50. I like to stretch and I like to kick. I'm 50.
That's right.
Channeling my SNL.
That's right. Well, speaking of trending, today is a very interesting topic.
Yes, it is.
GLP-1s. Now, Katee picked this topic.
We did.
Katee picked the topic. So I want to go in asking what inspired you to choose this as a topic today?
So there's a couple things that I want to dig in on. Number one, I think most of our listeners know this. Both Jackye and I did go down the route of GLP-1s to
Yeah.
lose weight and to get healthier for different reasons. And well, for the same reason, I think you and I had a shared reasoning of why we wanted to lose weight and we know what the objective was from our doctors. And then I want to go down the path of from the HR perspective. We're finding a lot of insurance companies will not pay for these GLP-1s, so they're not, covering them. And so that piece I want to talk about because it feels like they're not paying for the GLP-1 coverage almost to keep people on medications that are the cause of being overweight or are because of being overweight. And then I also want to talk about what this means in regards to like promotions, et cetera, when people do lose weight and do look differently than they maybe used to. So
I can
we got a
appreciate
lot of things to cover today.
that is. I want to start by saying the first time that I was recommended a GLP-1 was back at the time when I was at Hiring Solved. I didn't know anything about it, terrified of even any kind of injections. But, excuse me, I remember going and calling my insurance and them saying, "No, you don't have any obesity coverage." And it was specifically chosen not to do it. And at the time, we were with what's the HR outsource that a lot of people use? I forget the name of it, but we were part of that program. And the lady on the phone said, I was like, wow, that's kind of extreme. Like any weight loss? It's like, yeah, no weight loss is covered. And
Right.
they were like, do you have any overweight people at your company? And then I'm like looking around, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like the only fat person at this company. And I remember feeling some kind of way. And like you said, so you would rather like cholesterol or high blood
Diabetes, heart, all the
diabetes,
things. Yeah.
although everything is, but it's the equivalent. Like this is a health condition. So it'd be like an organization saying, oh yeah, we don't cover menopause. Are you the only old lady there? And you're like, actually,
Well, Jackye, we probably shouldn't use that as the example because that is the case in a lot of insurance companies
no,
also. So
no, it
yeah.
is the right example.
HRTs, yeah, are let's not go down that path today. Let's
Yeah.
stick on GLP-1.
But it makes you feel that same way of like automatic rejection and what does that mean about my health? And if I have a health concern, it's unfortunate when a lot of people do work. The main reason of going to corporate is to have comprehensive insurance.
Right.
And then for it to not cover this as a medical condition, I think is
Not ideal at all. Well, I think this is the thing, I think for people that are on GLP-1s, and I think a lot of us, like to your point, either got a recommendation from a friend or a colleague or someone that said, hey, you should check this out. So we did the research, talked to our medical professional about it. And when I started having these conversations with my nurse practitioner, she was like, you're a perfect candidate. Let's test you to see if you're pre diabetic. I was not, even though I was, grossly overweight. And so it was one of those things like, well, you're not going to qualify for this as a response to being pre diabetic. So we'll have to have you pay for it out of pocket, which was extremely expensive. And so
Yeah.
it is one of those things that then, I was having issues with, going and getting a heart test and having, a heart condition from, it in my family or, the predisposition to heart issues, predisposition to high blood pressure, all of these different things. So it was like, okay, if I lose this weight, this will be very beneficial to me. And then I think it became, a very interesting, especially being in the role that I have been in of I'm the person selecting the benefits a lot of times or having those conversations with brokers to say what's covered, what's not. And to have brokers say, "Oh, they don't insurance companies won't cover these," and then starting to dig in on why, and it is they want
Definitely.
us to have to go and get 5 different prescriptions versus lose the weight, get healthier, all of these things, and it just feels like a completely backwards way of approaching health and people's well-being, and so it's very fascinating to me. So, I think for so many people, they did have to come out of pocket or they couldn't because they didn't have the financial means to do that. I was blessed enough that I was able to do that. And I know that you were as well. And so it was one of those things of, okay, we're able to do this because we have
The
the
income.
financial means to do it. Yeah. But it's also one of those things that start to talk about what does this change in the way that you're perceived at work as well? Because I think that was one that I don't know what your experience was, but I definitely felt a shift in the way that people responded to me at work, outside of work, socially, all of these different things where it was just a different conversation or people kind of and I'm not talking about like the male gaze or any of that because yes, that did also shift, but more of the socially how you are acknowledged, how you are seen as more worthy was definitely something that shifted for me. Did that shift for you as well, do you think?
Think so, and part of it is because, like, I've worked remote forever, so, like, as far as from work, nobody ever knew what I looked like it took a long time, like, before
Yeah.
the and so it was kind of like, "Oh," definitely noticeable, but also in my case, I think people thought that because I was, like, working out and doing all those things for the Amazing Race, that must be why
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
instead of I was like, "No, I lost the weight before," but, I hadn't seen people in a long time. But I did notice it does change how people treat me in general,
Yeah.
like, in weird ways, like people not getting up, like, when you need to scoot by, like, on a plane or something, like, weird things like that, or I think the biggest part that I noticed a difference in how I was being treated was at the airport.
Yes.
Like, when you're in that middle seat and someone's like, "Oh, thank God. I was worried it was gonna be some fatty in the middle." And you're
Yeah.
like,
Thanks.
"What the" But I also think for in my I think one of the things that is shocking is, what it I treated myself differently. Like, I
Yeah.
gave myself different permissions and didn't realize on how much using food as a crutch and I think it's a real challenge because there's a million things around this, but from, like,
Yeah.
a mental health perspective, there were things that I didn't realize that I was missing out on or a behavior that
Yeah.
surrounded so much around that. And also socially, I remember a lot of friends would be mad or frustrated because I didn't wanna keep eating or I couldn't, and for those of you who aren't on GLP-1s, like, legit, and, Katie can vouch for this, you cannot have another bite. You get to a
Yeah.
point where you're like, "I will die if I eat another bite of this burger."
I'll be sick.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Like, there's you cannot stomach it down, and so I think a lot of people noticed, and then as I'm losing weight and they aren't losing weight, people want you to continue eating, and that's what
Frustration.
for you to do,
Yeah.
or else going out to dinner with you is no fun.
Yeah, and I think for you and I both, it was definitely there were health concerns that were very much in support of this, but I agree with you on mine was more I mean, obviously, I travel a lot and love traveling and going and experiencing new things, and I didn't realize how many things I was saying no to when we traveled, be able to do more things, and also had the energy and interest in doing more things because I wasn't, like, ashamed of to your point, like, "Oh, I'm glad it's not a fatty sitting between us, the activity because I didn't want to be looked at a certain way. So yeah, I definitely think it was I go do these things in any type of way, which was totally an internal
Oh, yeah.
thing. I'm sure no one was paying attention. And, that's just us always thinking that we're the center of attention on everything. But I think that appearance privilege, I think definitely did occur in public and then in other settings where it was more of the people engaged more and maybe to your point, it was also my shift mentally and like, oh, I can also join in the conversation. I can also engage with other people where I maybe wouldn't have in the past. So I think there's a lot there as well. So I think when you think about this, what are your thoughts, or have you heard any experiences where it's more of people thinking that like their capabilities have shifted because they are thinner or because they have lost weight? Have you heard anything along those lines, or have you had anyone share that with you? Because I think there is that appearance privilege is definitely a topic that people maybe don't wanna explore. I think we've explored it from the perspective of when you are heavier, I think there is a lack of belief or a feeling like, "Oh, you can't even take care of yourself. How are you gonna go represent the company or go do whatever?"
Yeah, I think and to be clear, like my mom one time said something really funny. She was like, "We aren't anorexic. We have the opposite of anorexia. Like we think we look really good. So we just keep eating." Like I don't understand. Like we have the opposite of dysmorphia where I've always been like drop dead gorgeous. Like always had pretty privilege to be clear
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in my own head. But also I think people want to engage and it's not as I don't know if they look more approachable and power. But I don't know. Tell me, have you experienced it? I want to know tell me about what your experience is like that.
I think and again, I'm glad you said what you said earlier of like, was it that other people were perceiving me differently, or was I showing up in a different way because I felt more comfortable? And I think it's probably a little bit of both that, you're showing up as a different person basically because you are feeling more confident in the way you look. And so you're holding yourself in a different way when you show up in the room. And so I think that is part of it. But there is also this stigma now of people that have lost weight using GLP-1s that it's kind of oh, well, you took the easy way out. And I can assure everyone, and I know that you'll say the
Not
same thing, this was not easy. And I do work out usually twice a day at this point. In
right.
some form or fashion, there's a workout every single day. And so I think there's that stigma though too of, well, you cheated the system or whatever. But I think that there's a viewpoint that shifted for me in conversations where I was acknowledged more or I was joining in conversations more. And it probably was on both sides that I felt more comfortable joining in the conversation or giving my opinion or whatever it might be. But also, I think other people were more inclined to give me attention or to include me in something because I looked healthier or I felt healthier. I don't like I'm probably not describing it correctly.
I've had like weird stuff. I'll never forget like, carrying over extra weight. It does act as a shield in certain situations and part of it is like
Yes.
keep yourself safe, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
remember at one point like looking really cute that day and turning around and this man was what I thought was flirting, like direct eye contact, like deep "I'm looking at you" thing,
Yeah.
and I,
Yeah.
like, pushed a person out of the way, almost tripped all over myself, like, I looked like I saw a ghost, terrified, and I've also one day we have to have a conversation about men, period, like, full stop, because I'm
Yeah.
like someone said, "Oh, your husband must be happy," and I was like,
Listen, the executive producer is always happy regardless, and even when he's not happy, he's happy. Let's be very clear about where the husband is in this.
also, my husband's like a full chubby chaser, like, if you want to know my husband's
Oh,
giant, it would be like a fluffy black girl. He
oh my god.
loves he loves it, and also for those that don't know, my husband is, like, thin, like, pretty super thin, and
Yeah.
he's same weight as I met him when I was 19, and I am not, and so, like, I think that was weird, like, why would you say that, like, at a professional conference that my husband would be happy because 'cause I'm losing weight?
Right.
Because
Well,
why?
and it's also a
better to look
If
at.
the only well, I was just saying if that's the only attachment you have to your husband is the physical, then that's not ideal for most relationships, I would think. So,
But here's the part that is important that we're not talking about. And again, you didn't want to go to the age thing, but I think it makes a big difference. Once you hit 50 and you go past and you're still commanding audiences and you're standing on stage, this is the part that people, and I had said this to my now ex friend. Nobody wants to see someone on stage that reminds them of everything they don't want to be,
right,
right? And
right,
it doesn't like you call me ableist, call me sexist, call whatever, but it's the truth and the reality of the matter that we already know. As women, we're not going to be taken as seriously as women in tech, as women as leaders, as women execs, and
mhm,
whether we're worthy and commanding a stage and getting discredited, like you still have to look like you have yourself together. And I think that
right,
there is an impression that because you don't have any control or self control when you look like that. And it was really important if you want to stay relevant, that means you have to take good care of yourself and make sure you're moisturizing and doing all the things,
right,
or else you will not be invited to be on stage and get in certain audiences. It's just the
right,
fact.
right. That
Sorry.
it well, as a woman,
Yeah.
let's be very clear, because I think you and I both know and can list names right now today of men who that isn't the case, where they have not taken care of themselves over the years. They have not, done what they need to do and are still getting called and getting paid quite a bit of money. But I think it also so yes, I think age and I'm going to say maintenance. I don't know if that's the right word, but like taking care of yourself just across the
Right.
board.
Right.
But I also like, I mean, this also begs like a whole different level of conversation when we go down that path of like, and I know you and I have talked about this, like when you and I kind of started going, okay, we're going to start speaking and wearing jeans and sneakers versus
Yeah.
being dressed in a full suit and heels and all the things. And I know, like I think this was the same for you. For me, it was like, oh my God, am I going to be taken seriously if I show up in jeans and a hoodie and whatever? Whereas again, our male counterparts were absolutely doing that, and it was no big deal. And I'm talking CEOs at all, at every level of the organization. So I think there's that piece as well. But getting back to the GLP-1 and kind of the weight loss and weight period, it's also the part that is also an issue is that because this coverage isn't happening, they're saying that, the GLP-1s are so costly that they can't cover it from a benefits perspective. But and that people that and the companies that are covering it from an insurance perspective are seeing higher pharmaceutical costs, but when you weigh it against that longer term, so yes, it won't improve the diabetes, all of these things in that 1 year, but it will longer term improve the health of the person overall. And I mean, their study after study after study is proving again and again how great these meds are. Now, is there going to be some downstream impact? I'm sure there will be, as with any drug. But it's also when you see the benefits and see the longer term impact, we need to get the price of these GLP-1s under control. Pharmaceutical companies stop being greedy. But
Right.
also, it's one of those things where if we can get people healthier overall and off these other medications, the longer term impact to cost to employers would vastly improve. And there's studies that they're now doing to see kind of that longer term impact now that GLP-1s have been much more normalized to say like, okay, what medications are you now not taking because you lost this weight? And I mean, I had team members in my last organization that went off pretty much every other drug that they were taking and were just taking the GLP-1s. And so they're like, Katie, why can't we get this covered? If this is the only thing I'm now taking, this should actually help the company. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. So,
No, I think it does more than that. And what I hope as they're doing these studies is not just how much are we saving overall because of the impact of medicine and long term, but you have to
yes,
look deeper, like look at days off or looking
yes,
at productivity or looking at all of those things because
yes,
that's where the difference lies. And like or the motivation or how did they view themselves or
right.
did they participate more? Because I think, to your point, when people have that, it does give you a certain level of confidence. Uh,
Yes,
and part of it is how you're internalized hate or shame for being at a particular size. And for me, and I think I don't want to speak for you, like I was like got really thin, and then I had to, like when I had my surgery, I had to get to a comfortable place where it was like that is a lot and weird. And like having to put that together. But that's the part of the study that we need to know. Somebody's mental health is better. Are they able to participate more? Do they, participate? Are they using any of the other benefits that we have,
Right.
like
Right.
fitness? Because no lie, like the amount of loss just for my body thermometer alone allowed me to do so many more things that I've never been able to do before.
Yeah.
And like in participating, and once you have that empowerment of I can do hard things, it only is going to benefit the organization.
Right.
Katie and I, you know, went on a hike together in Arizona, and there was a point where there was absolutely no way either one of us would have been doing that.
100%. No. Yeah. And wouldn't have wanted to.
It crossed our minds, and if we would have said it, we might have fight. It might have been our last day. We both didn't lose weight.
No.
I
No,
don't
no, no. We would have laughed and then gone to the bar and ate a bunch of food and drunk and had a bunch
nachos
of
and
drinks.
queso and
Yeah.
been like, but I think that's the part that also is not being talked about. As a result of this, you are gonna have to, if you especially if you're not gonna cover GLP-1s, you are gonna have to do the mental health, because one thing that I did notice is if this is a coping mechanism and it's been taken away, I quit smoking. I don't have that. And so it means you have to deal with the real issues. Like you can't eat your feelings anymore. And so
Okay, so that's a whole nother piece to this, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I think that's another piece is that for those folks who have not used a GLP-1, you you do not want to do anything that feels like
it
not good for you or makes because it literally like I remember making a cocktail and I took a sip of it and I was like, "Oof, no, I do not wanna drink this, this is disgusting." And so I think that's part of it too, is that there's the what other vices are no longer there that are unfortunately, a coping mechanism for a lot of people. And so I think that's also part of it is that, you're getting healthier across the board on so many different
right,
things, not just your weight loss. You're also eliminating a lot of other things from your lifestyle that
right,
weren't good for you. But to your point, mentally, what does that do if you're now having to face some of these other things that you didn't because you would drown your sorrows or go smoke a cigarette or go do whatever? So,
right. I mean, there's that part, but I mean, is not just HR, it's like our healthcare is just trash.
yeah.
And which is part of that, like in our country, it's not, we're just not trying to get people healthy and be preventative. And
Right.
call me a conspiracy theorist, but part of the reason they don't want people to get on GLP-1s is because of just exactly what you're talking about. From a pharmaceutical perspective, oh, now we're no longer giving diabetes or like the insulin or all of this different kind of medication. And so there's people that are losing weight and organizations that are losing money from
Yeah.
people being healthier.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes to like another, I mean, there's 75 different directions this could go in, but it's also the kind of keeping people in line. It's like, our food is trash in the US. Our trash in the US. And like there is definitely the alcohol companies, the tobacco companies, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, they have an agenda and the agenda is make more money. And so they don't want healthy people who aren't drinking, who aren't smoking, who aren't eating their, body weight in nachos every night. They want to keep people into their, in a certain place and in a certain lifestyle. But I also think I'd be curious to know, the US is supposedly, and I don't know what the stats are now, but for the longest time, it was that the US was the most obese country like in the world. And so I'm curious to know if that has shifted at all now that GLP-1s are being used. But I think we can go one step further back to this kind of class race conversation too, of because of the financial impact to purchasing these GLP-1s, are you only helping people that are at a specific financial level?
Right.
And the answer is yeah, absolutely. And so what does that do, and what's the impact then from a, I'm gonna say class perspective, but, like, it is a the blue collar worker probably isn't going to be able to afford these medications, and so it's
Work for everybody. So,
right.
but here's the other part with that, like, like, going down that path as well and all of the things and from an elitist standpoint, so then let's use it as a workforce strategy standpoint. We cover GLP-1s. You might have a load of people that would be willing to change because they need it for health benefits, and they'll do the work there because the organization is willing to pay for it, and they're going to have a better benefit because, obesity causes more people to be absent, more
Right.
body and pains, more disability claims, more injuries, more long-term chronic disease. So be the organization that covers the GLP-1s. Not only will you have people that are willing to jump ship because they can't afford $1,500 or whatever it is today a month.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
usually 1,000, $1,500 a month. There's different programs now, but the thing is, think about it. Right now,
Yeah.
we know what is the average time that somebody's at an organization? What is it, 2 years? Take somebody who also, like, employer A is gonna pay for prevention, right? But employer B gets a healthier employee that's working on a long-term basis, even if it is you're doing your best work because you wanna be able to have this benefit and you're not gonna leave unless you go to another organization that has that benefit. This is going to
Right.
happen. You heard it here first, folks.
Yes. Yeah.
Be
Totally.
like, "Come work at Amazon. Sell your soul to Amazon. We cover GLP-1s," and I guarantee watch
Well,
the pay.
they do have their own pharmacy, so they could actually, and they probably do provide that to their employees. Yeah, but, like, I think it is a this goes back to access and what people have access to, and, having access to food, having access to different things, education, etcetera. This is just another one of those things that is almost a class-related conversation versus a, "Can we just get people healthy, period, and that's what we should focus on?" But I agree with you wholeheartedly that the organizations that are supporting the use of GLP-1s and covering them are going to benefit from that because people are gonna say, "Hey, you actually care about us being healthy," versus wanting us to be on every medication under the sun.
And you're gonna have to deal with bias for people that are like, "No, I don't wanna be on a GLP-1," and how does that affect promotions and hiring when you
Mhm.
do offer it as a benefit and you have somebody that, mind your business
Mind your
at a
Yeah,
certain weight, at a mind your business weight, and it's like, "Why don't you just take the GLP-1s?" And you're gonna get sued for, like, discrimination. Like, I see.
100%. That's absolutely, yeah, that's the other side of the coin as well, is that, like, it is the how far does this go? And I think if there is any type of correlation in who's getting promoted to who is using these drugs or who has lost weight on these drugs, yes, we're gonna see something come down the road here that is going to say, "Hey, the only reason why I got this promotion was because of this, and Johnny didn't get the promotion because he didn't lose the weight." So, I think that is for sure a an impact that we may see, but I think the bigger piece for me is the, let's get our folks healthy, and how do we do that in the right way?
Do that. I don't think anybody wants, like, I mean, who cares about employees right now? Like, where
Okay, fair.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
We're seeing, wages, super layoffs. We're seeing, just certain things that are going on in the year of our Lord 2026 that we haven't seen in a really long time.
right,
And, like, which is all going, we don't really care about employees. We just care about the bottom line is what we're seeing at a lot of different organizations.
right.
And so I don't know if that isn't enough of a priority because it isn't like, I mean, majority of organizations will want to do the minimum amount in order to support. Like, we've seen the benefits game shift and what has been considered a benefit. It used to be insurance, like stamp. I mean, there's
Yeah,
different levels, but now it's wild to think that you can work at an organization that has health insurance that you're
mhm,
paying partially for that does not, there's other chronic illnesses that insurance, like,
yeah,
cover a hysterectomy or chose doesn't cover the place down the road and you have to go someplace else. Like, I don't know. We're in a season where it's an employer's market. And so it's going to take a shift, I think, to being a candidate market for us to
Yeah.
see a significant enough change in this and other benefits to support
Agreed.
and care about the employee.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes. I think that is very true. So I think, I know we just opened up kind of a little bit of a can of worms without a lot of answers, but just some things for our colleagues in HR and leaders to be thinking about. Because I think that's really what this is not a here's a solution. It's a this needs to be an ongoing conversation, and change needs to come probably more quickly than we want it, or sorry, less quickly than we want it, but it is something that is gonna continue to come up, and we need to figure out and how do we make sure that our employees are taken care of, especially in the face of companies that just don't care what's going on with their employees right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is the answer to why don't you just stop eating? Or when we understand we're not, doing that and finding healthier ways to cope to support people of being their best and doing their best work just has
Yeah.
not come out in a timely manner. Like it just hasn't caught up?
Right. Right. No, agreed. And I think that's one of those things where how do we position this in the right way? So, Jackie, what's one thing you want to make sure people heard during this episode?
That I have been was sexy at my highest weight,
Okay,
at my thinnest
fair,
weight.
fair. And I don't disagree with that.
I
I
wanted to
think
be here,
I think
heard.
you're gorgeous regardless.
Thank
Yes.
I wanna make sure other people know that I am. And also
Yes.
but the other thing is, like, I think it's really important that people know that this is, like, a real health issue. It's a health concern, and it is been life-changing for I don't wanna speak for you, but it has been life-changing for, I think, for me at least, and I think you
Yes.
can life-changing for you in a positive way, and we've been able to do this for a long time, so
Yeah, absolutely. I think that yes, for me it definitely has been life changing, and it's also just opened my eyes to what I can do instead of thinking, "Oh, I can't do that because I'm a certain weight or because I am whatever." So I think it's definitely something that for me it's been it's life-changing. That's the right expression for sure. So, all right, Miss Jackie, this is Katie Van Horn.
this is Jackye Clayton, bite, and then I press the button.
Yep.